our ideology will never be about dividing, preferring. It'll always be sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas, where the law of the land plays out.
Current governance detractors and people have this thing, freedom of speech थोड़े खतरे में है अभी.
The freedom of speech, the fundamental right to free speech is a constitutionally guaranteed right. The government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in particular are trustees of fundamental rights.
How does a middle class Indian boy who goes on to study engineering, वहाँ से अपना startup करना, उसका बहुत जल्दी exit करना, BPL mobile, we all have heard about it, और आज as a politician, as a minister, large scale impact create करना with no background in politics. How is he navigating this journey? What is he doing? How is he evolving himself as a leader? Join me as I talk to Rajeev Chandrasekhar. Honorable Minister, I'm excited to be talking to you, and especially today we are talking in Bengaluru, and I was just going through your background, your history and where you come from. If you had to today connect the dots looking backwards, how does it all fall in place?
I can certainly say that I've always had in my mind the determination to jump on any opportunity that presents itself to me. So whatever came my way, I grabbed and I was all in for those opportunities. So in a lot of ways, people ask me, how did you go from being a chip designer to being a telecom startup and building this telecom company? And then how did you get into politics? How did you become an investor? At least in my case, certainly, they happened and they came in front of me, and I, through epiphany, prescient intuition, whatever, I grabbed them and then worked hard at it. So that's the answer that I usually give. I don't think you can connect those dots and create any particular pattern. I was always hardworking, and those ethos came to me, those values came to me from my family and my parents.
You've talked about social media and the misinformation that goes on social media. So there is, we are coming up with Digital India Bill, and you are coming with that. So there's a lot of anticipation, but there's also a lot of questions. And I want you, Minister, to address this for all of us.
There's no need to worry. There's no need for any questions or, sort of worries in your head about what the future will hold. This discussion is a very natural discussion because of the following. The technology intensity of our economy, the players in the technology and on the internet are proliferating. Our innovation ecosystem is growing, but the laws that in a sense regulate that are 22 years old. So therefore, the Prime Minister and the Government of India feel that we need to keep this momentum going. We need to have a legal framework that is a global standard law that allows not just Indian startups to succeed, but more and more companies from all over the world to make India their digital center of gravity. And so therefore, we are proposing a Digital India Act. And the way this act will be designed, built and enacted will be at every step with consultation.
And what you're calling out clearly is that there's going to be a lot of consultation and participation.
Absolutely right.
From the citizens and from people. Yeah. Minister, I have one propose as a common man is that, we need more women on the internet, and maybe this act could look at how do we get more women.
No, but I'll tell you, from our understanding, the internet usage is almost 45% women in India.
Okay.
Yeah, and so don't be under any illusion that the women are in a sense excluded from the internet. They are. What is happening, however, in many households, because there is one device that is connected to the internet, that device is usually with the man of the house. So there is some sharing that goes on between the man and the woman for that. So if we can proliferate and make cheaper devices available, phones available, then the women get included more. So we are certainly focused on that.
The Digital India Bill also, they proposes penal consequences for emerging technologies like metaverse and blockchain. And all young people want to hear what you have to say.
No. I don't think we have decided any of that.
Okay.
I think what we have said is that in the case of AI, deepfakes, metaverse, gaming, where there are possibilities of use or harm, there are possibilities of criminality, There are possibilities of doxing, gaslighting. We have to figure out what should be the guardrail, what should be the deterrent. Because what we want is the internet to be a safe and trusted place for a woman and a man, for a child and an elderly. So therefore, if somebody goes in there and does something wrong, what should be the mechanism by which we deal with people who do wrong? Should it be criminal? Should it be penalties? Should it be punitive? Should it be just wrapping yourself on the hand? So my own view on this is the real world outside the internet and the internet cannot have two types of laws. If you violate a crime in the real world, there is a criminal penal code that you are accountable to. Similarly, I say on the internet, there cannot be a case when somebody does something wrong, blatantly violating law, he can't suddenly say, but I am on the internet, so the law doesn't reach me. So we are establishing the same level playing field between the internet and the real world.
When it comes to politics, एक feeling है that politics is, you have to be of a certain temperament and politics is dirty. अच्छे लोग नहीं जी पाएंगे और survive कर पाएंगे politics में. What do you have to say about that?
I will not pretend that my entry into politics was easy, nor that my stay in that has been like a red roses and a carpet of roses or anything. It has been tough. There is a healthy deal of skepticism for a traditional politician, for anybody who enters politics from outside the political system. And I was certainly as outside the political system as you could get in 2006. And I remember when I was in Bhairav Singh Shekhawatji's office for my swearing in, there were two ladies, very veteran politicians, one from the left, whom I shall not name, but you should certainly easily figure out who it was, and one was a Congress lady, who were loudly whispering, देखो एक और businessman आ गया है राज्यसभा में. Because they were used to the Vijay Mallyas and they were used to all of these other businessmen who sort of bought their way into parliament and wore the member of parliament as some sort of a decoration or as a qualification. I recall hearing it because they were making no attempt at being quiet, and I certainly remember telling myself that I'll certainly prove to them that I can come from outside the system, outside the traditional political system, and still be a public servant and do public service in a way that certainly I am proud of and my family and my community is proud of.
You had mentioned that you've quoted this, that India is the largest internet nation in the world. Where do you see us going from here?
Where we go from here is only, beyond and further and to the ultimate goal that the Prime Minister has laid out in front of the nation, which should be a collective mission, that we want to distance ourselves as far away from 65 years of a narrative of being a poor country full of poor people to being a country which is a prosperous country where every citizen is enjoying a decent standard of living, can aspire to a good future for their children. That is the India that we want to build. So if you ask me, what is it all this effort is about? It is about really distancing as much as possible through sheer hard work and commitment as a population and as Indian, that 65 years we've wasted. I mean, I'll be blunt, and I think it's wasted because for years, even when I traveled abroad, we were this country of poor people. There was a lot of patronizing about us. Nothing that we said was ever taken very seriously. We were never on any big round table in terms of deciding the world's problems or the world's solutions. That is partly the reason why we are today, despite being the largest democracy in the world, certainly one of the fastest growing economies in the world, the Security Council still doesn't have us present. If we were this type of India of hard charging Indians, ambitious, prosperity driven Indians, and not mouthing some fake socialism in the early days of our independence, we would be sitting on that round table of nations and deciding the future of the world. And certainly, if we were sitting on that table and deciding the future of the world, we would not be in 2023 still having a war in Europe. I think the fact the world itself has made a big mistake on backing China for the last 30 years, an authoritarian regime, pretending it's an open economy, and then ignoring a democracy and pretending it's a socialist country. So a lot of things have happened in the last 65 years that we, in a sense, are making up for now in the last 9 years. And so going forward, I think this is the future that we should aspire for.
in the last few years, there is a sense of pride which has come back, especially in young India. It is a very unapologetic India.
Absolutely, and very confident India. I absolutely, unabashedly can tell you that the confidence that a young Indian has, and confidently talking about his or her idea, and nobody is talking about getting a job. They're all increasingly focused on creating opportunities for themselves. It is certainly a very different new India, and the best ambassador of the new India is not politicians or leaders or politicians or indeed anybody. It is these young Indians who go out there and talk confidently with the rest of the world, heads held high, and absolutely confident in that they will succeed in the future.
You know, the current government's detractors and people have this thing, freedom of speech thode khatre mein hai abhi.
The freedom of speech, the fundamental right to free speech, is a constitutionally guaranteed right. The government, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in particular, are trustees of fundamental rights. As a matter of fact, in our IT rules, we have put down that no platform can violate any fundamental right of any citizen, including 14, 19, and 21. We put it down as a rule in the IT Act. But understand one thing, when you talk about freedom of speech is a fundamental right, not an absolute right. It is subject to some restrictions. That means if you're an Indian citizen, you want to exercise your right to free speech, it doesn't mean you can say insightful stuff. You cannot say things that are criminal. You can't go create a mob and then have the mob go and lynch somebody because you say I am freedom of speech. So we are in the cyberspace carving out a jurisprudence that says, while freedom of speech is a fundamental right, certainly it is no guarantee that you can do misinformation. So freedom of speech in India is a fundamental right, but comes with certain caveats. And people who complain about freedom of speech are those who want to cross that Rubicon and continue to do illegal, wrong things and take the cover of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is no cover for illegality.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is no barrier against defamation, or not forget about defamation, misinformation.
There's so many, and I heard that today you've announced that there'll be 20 lakh students who will be skilled, young people who will be in Karnataka alone. So talk to us about this, because again there is this question about skilling. How prepared are we? We have young population.
I certainly don't want to say, and nobody in the government will say, we are fully prepared for all the opportunities. Because the opportunity landscape that the Prime Minister has opened up post-COVID, the space, artificial intelligence, cyber security, drones, agriculture, so many things have opened up. Are our youngsters prepared for it fully? Are they skilled for it? Perhaps not. And therefore, in this budget, he has a very ambitious program. He has laid out 8,000 crores to be used for skilling young Indians all over the country, of which 18 to 20 lakhs will be in Karnataka. And it will be for future-ready, industry-ready skills. So it's not just about the traditional skills alone, but also about AI, robotics, drones, all of that. Why this is very important, and I don't know how many people know this, that in 2014, when PM took over, the total workforce in India were 42 crore people in the workforce. You know how many of them were unskilled? 32 crore. That means more than almost 80% of the workforce in India, after 65 years of socialism and a certain dynasty, were unskilled. The pre-2014 regime, you have no option but to be skilled. Because it's not like there are no jobs. There is jobs, there is investments, there is activity, there is jobs being created, but you need to have skills for those jobs. So this urgency, this real, in a sense, pivot of our workforce to go from an unskilled dominated workforce to being a highly skilled, upskilled, reskilled workforce for the next 10 years is what this budget announcement is about.
I also want to understand that, are you also going to conscientiously look at the overall landscape in the country, or there's going to be certain regions? And are you also going to look at young girls getting
Every
skilling?
district, each of the 740 districts has a unique skill development plan.
Okay.
Based on what the needs are, what the profile of students are, what the profile of the youngsters there are, what their aptitude is. So every one of them has a distinct district skill development plan. So what will be done in, let's say, Haveri district of Karnataka will not be in Bangalore district of Karnataka. What will be done in Haveri will not be same in Kohima district of Nagaland. So every one of these is going to be uniquely designed around their local talent, local requirements and local opportunity. That is the idea. That is the design that has gone into it. And we certainly think it's a game changer for the youth because A, it is free. B, it is about skilling, it is about reskilling, and it is about upskilling. So this is not just about the youth. Assume you're a 35-year-old in the workforce today, and you suddenly find that your job is hitting a dead end. You can pivot and upskill yourself or reskill yourself and get back into the workforce as, let's say, an AI engineer or a drone operator, as opposed to what you were doing for the last 10 years.
You know, I also have to say that Prime Minister has talked a lot and from the Red Fort about Startup India and the Stand Up India and Startup India. Now it has become a movement. Minister, I am from Bihar and there, मतलब अभी कोई region नहीं रहा इंडिया में part जहाँ पे startups लोग नहीं जानते हैं.
कोई जगह नहीं है. कोई जगह नहीं. मैं उत्तर प्रदेश में Prime Minister sent me for campaigning during the elections और मैंने आपको कहा मुझे नहीं मालूम कि एंड आई सेड कि मैं तो हिंदी मैंने कभी पब्लिक एड्रेस किया नहीं हिंदी में. दूसरा, मैं तो टेक्नोलॉजी का आदमी हूँ. मुझे कहा गया कि उत्तर प्रदेश की राजनीति में टेक्नोलॉजी का कोई असर नहीं पड़ेगा. पहले प्रोग्राम मैंने किया और एक लाइन हमने कॉइन किया, डिजिटल इंडिया का डिजिटल उत्तर प्रदेश, और 9 पब्लिक प्रोग्राम किए क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा नहीं कीजिए, क्योंकि यहाँ पर यूपी के युवा को भी दे वांट दिस. एंड लुक एट व्हाट टुडे द यूपी नरेटिव आफ्टर दिस यूपी समिट, the investor summit, where the largest data center in North India is in Noida. The outside of Apple, the largest exporter of mobile phones is in UP. So, you know, who would have guessed 6 years ago that UP would be a technology hub? I mean, people would have, honestly, I say this candidly, 6-7 years ago, if somebody had said UP would be a place where the investments in technology would go and they would be competing with Bengaluru and Hyderabad, people would have laughed at us. Yeah. But now they are. You know,
I've been told that you have canvassed a lot to get the Apple Foxconn, facility here in Karnataka. Tell us what's happening on that front.
Canvassing is really by the government of India, and the fact that there is a real momentum today. There's an article today where Apple is looking at India as a very important piece of their international business. The fact that they are going to build one of the biggest plants outside Bengaluru is a very significant message for Karnataka in a different way. Karnataka has been the hub for IT and ITES for many years. And pre-2014, that was the narrative about Bengaluru and Karnataka. Now, the narrative is going full circle, and it's a ITES which is growing, startups and innovation that is growing, electronics manufacturers that is growing, and today we saw the deep tech startup, the electronics design people are growing. So in a lot of ways now Karnataka is representing a very diversified and expanded digital economy and digital ecosystem. And so Apple brings, that plant will bring a new fillip to the whole electronics manufacturing, which is very employment intensive. It employs almost 80% women. I have been to many of their plants. And their plants are all predominantly women oriented. The electronics manufacturing ecosystem will provide a tremendous number of jobs directly and indirectly to both women and men, but a large number to women, which is, in my opinion, tremendous for our state.
So there's so many things that have happened in Karnataka, but there's still so many things that needs to happen. What is your view?
In my mind, I'm absolutely clear, as I believe are a majority of people in Karnataka. This state has been governed and ruled by the Congress for several decades, then by the motley combination of the Congress and the JDS for several years. The BJP has had really very, this government has been only 3.5 years. Out of the 3.5 years, we've had 2.5 years where we were fighting COVID. So therefore, we have done, given the time that we have had, we've done a significant amount of work. And that we will present it to the voters of Karnataka. I think the Congress has a different strategy. They will play all of these other games, create fear mongering. But the fact is, this is an old, tried, stale strategy of the Congress, and it is a doomed to fail strategy. I was just asked this morning by somebody about Congress versus BJP. I said, look, you have two choices. A party run by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who has given his all to developing our country, or a party run by a guy who thinks China is the greatest thing since apple pie. And so you decide who do you want to, which party you want to support. So look, we are focused on our mission. Our ideology is development, equal opportunity for every Kannadiga, and we will do this in a manner absolutely that will make every Kannadiga proud of their government. The last 3.5 years, certainly, if people say you have not done enough development, I always say to them, but don't do my report carding only on development, because we did 2.5 years of protecting people's lives, and that was not, while it may seem now foggy and faded away in the distant fogs of memory, but it was certainly a difficult, trying time, and that we could demonstrate vaccination delivery, protect people, hospitals, healthcare. That was not an insignificant amount of work that went into it. The roads didn't get built in Bengaluru at the same rate as they would have. Yes, we accept that, and you need to give us 5 more years to really tell you what we can do and where our vision. So our vision for Karnataka, our vision for Bengaluru, balanced against or compared to 65 years of what the Congress and JDS have done, I think that in itself will tell the voters which way to go. Our main focus will always be Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, where the law of the land plays out all the time, every time. And it is really about mehnat. It is really about working hard, and whether it is the chief minister here or a minister in the state or a minister in the center, you will never find anybody who's not working hard.
You're a very, very good example for all the people, and especially young India and everyone who would be watching you right now, because you epitomize कि एक middle class लड़का कर सकता है. It is possible.
और आज की दुनिया में तो it is very much possible. I mean, even if you say 25 years ago, I was a fluke, maybe the planets got aligned, and then, all of that, and that it was not that easy to be a startup or an entrepreneur those days, especially somebody coming from outside the business system. Certainly today, I hope that my journey and my life and my successes are a beacon for every young Indian who says, look, मुझे कहा गया है कि this is tough, or that there is going to be failure, or that...
or you need to come from a certain background.
Certain background. Certainly, I don't believe in today's India you need to come from any background, accepting your own deep conviction, belief and confidence in yourself, in your idea, and your hard work and determination to see it through.
What is your relationship with money?
If I was obsessed with money, and there are people, and I don't fault them for that, that is their thing. I would have continued in telecom in 2006. People told me then, oh, you are exiting at $1 billion. If you stay on, it will become $5 billion. Ye ho raha hai, wo ho raha hai. 2006 mein I said, when somebody put a mic in 2005 mein, a lady journalist put a mic in front of me and said, but why are you leaving so early? So I said, I can see what the challenges are in the future. They are about lobbying for free spectrum or lobbying generally in Delhi, and neither of which I am good at, nor do I want to be good at. And so therefore I've done 10 years of this, and I decided to move away and do my own thing. So money, in my opinion, for a lot of, at least people like me, matters in that it should give you a certain security, they should give you a certain, fallback. But that is not the meaning of life.
Yeah. Your father has been an Air Commodore. What was the conversation at home like when you were growing up?
So, since you bring money into it, let me tell you about a conversation. When I first realized money was when he wanted me to go travel abroad and study abroad. He thought, even though I was working for a software company in Delhi called Softtech for 1,700 rupees a month, he genuinely wanted me to go abroad. And I applied late because I did not want to go abroad. And then, so therefore, my first semester, I did not get an assistantship, scholarship. So I remember him, so I told him, look, it's expensive. One semester, those days cost, I don't remember what it was, but some $8,000 or something. and he said, don't worry, I'll give you all my money. He then wrote a check out that told me that for 35 years of his working, his provident fund was 8 lakh rupees. His entire savings was 8 lakh rupees.
Oh, that's such a devotion.
Yeah, so I took that check and I went. I didn't use it. I kept it with me. But when I was catching the flight to the US, I started a diary and I wrote down that my life's ambition was by the age of 30 I should have 10 lakh rupees. So he was at the age of 58 with 8 lakh rupees, and I said certainly I can do better than him, and I want 10 lakh rupees by the age of 30. But that is how I understood money in those days.
So this is the background you come from, and I'm sure everyone will relate to this.
And actually parents, this is the great thing about India. Our parents back us in ways, and people say India, US, India, they are different, they are advanced. They may be advanced, they may have a fancier flyover and fancier cars, but at the end of the day, the family system in India, which is from generations and centuries of evolution, is something that no country has.
Minister, if you had to share with us your purpose and how has purpose evolved for you over the years, because you've donned so many hats. क्या है आज के डेट में purpose और कैसे evolve किया है?
आज के दिन में मेरा purpose ये है कि I certainly want to be a meaningful contributor to this vision of a new India, and I have found that purpose in the recent years, in the last 4, 5, 6 years, and I certainly believe it's an opportunity that I've got now as a minister, which I did not have before 2021, and that is clearly my primary purpose. Second is, of course, like with all of us, very unwavering purpose is to ensure that my family is proud of what we do, and that I make them proud and they are proud of me, and that is my second purpose in life. These are really the two only purposes that I today wake up in the morning and remind myself or review whenever I have to do a review before going to sleep.
At last, if I had to say India, what does it evoke in you? What do you think of India today?
It is certainly the greatest country on the world. It has always been a country of greatness, of people that have done such great things that shaped the world. But it is also a country that has been treated badly for several decades. For several decades, we were made to feel like we were not deserving of success. We were made to feel that we were in some ways inferior, and that was thrust down on our throats for many, many years and decades. And I'm glad we are now bouncing back with an unprecedented sort of energy and confidence and shaking that legacy off once and for all, and in a sense regaining the past glory and pride of being Indian and of being in India.
Looking forward to all the changes and all the things, especially skilling for young people, for jobs, for digital. We are all citizens of digital India. What you are going to do, and all the very best.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this conversation, then I would request you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we will bring you a lot of meaningful conversations here on.